We have a solar calendar. Right? Our calendar is governed by certain astronomical phenomena. So our solar year is the time it takes the Earth to go all the way around the sun. However, the Jewish calendar traditionally has been a lunar calendar, and that remains the liturgical or ritual calendar used by Jews. That calendar is not determined by how the Earth rotates around the sun, but the cycles of the moon. So every time the new moon appears, that's a month. That means that months generally end up being 28 or 29 days, and a full lunar year is 354 days. Now within that lunar calendar, as in our calendar, there are 7-day weeks. Generally 4 weeks to a month. The problem with the lunar calendar is that the months end up rotating throughout the seasons. So you add up 10 or 11-day differences every year, and over time, right, 1 month that might start in the spring ends up in the winter, right, or then in the fall and the summer and so on. Now that doesn't necessarily have to be a problem. We can understand a month or a year to move around liturgically, and that doesn't make any difference. The problem is that within the Bible itself, a lot of the holidays are actually pegged to seasons. So Passover is pegged to the spring. Sukkot, or the holiday of the tabernacles, is pegged to the fall. So what happens is that the Jewish calendar, the Jewish lunar calendar, actually becomes a lunar-solar calendar. And this happens fairly early. So way back in the rabbinic period, the rabbis understand that to keep the months in their seasons, but to also keep a lunar calendar, you have to intercalate. Intercalate is a lot like us adding a leap day, but they add a leap month every few months. And that keeps the seasons and the months more or less aligned. This is why when you look at the Jewish ritual calendar, when holidays like Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, any of the other holidays fall, they seem to move around from year to year. But you'll notice that they move around within a range, and that range is a little over a month, from the earliest time that one of these holidays can appear until the latest time that it can appear. And it depends on whether or not there's been an intercalation. Intercalation, ever since the early Middle Ages, has been calculated. As prior to that, rabbis would meet and they would decide, let's add a month this year. I'm sure that was done on a predictable level, but nevertheless, there was at least that formality. Today, you can calculate this. On the internet, you can calculate it eons out, but it's all done according to a formula. The fact that originally that intercalation was done by rabbis and not by a calculation led to certain kinds of uncertainties about whether or not a holiday, especially when it occurs at the beginning or near the beginning of a month, whether word will come from the rabbis soon enough to observe. That gave rise to 2-day holidays outside of the land of Israel, which means outside the land of Israel, for the major holidays, they're generally observed over 2 days. So the first day of Sukkot in Israel is actually observed as 2 days of Sukkot outside of Israel. Today, with the development both of the calculated calendar and of modern communication, right, there are some Jewish communities that see that as quite antiquated and have eliminated that and go with a single day of a holiday outside of the land of Israel.